After a frantic first round at Silverstone, we take the hop over the pond to America. More specifically, New York, as tonight, round 2 of the Race Anywhere World Series is here at Watkins Glen, and it is live on Absolute Sim Racing. Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig King, and with me is Daniel Hanover on the cameras and the microphone. Tonight, we say hello to a new look Watkins Glen. Well, new look as it's a rescan to iRacing this season. Originally a street course in 1948, this track was officially paved in 1956. The boot, as we all know it, completed in 1971, just in time for the Formula One. So, of course, it's famed for its classic Grand Prix. Remember the chicane at the S's? Of course, NASCAR as well. The 6 hours at the Glen for IMSA. It's known for its high speeds, its runoffs, its bus stop, and as I mentioned, the S's. In previous history, the S's have been known to cause a lot of damage in iRacing, mainly just the lethal combination of cold tires and drivers jostling for position. With the new scan, does come new off-track rules. No longer do you have that infamous runoff, that wide runoff at turn 1. It's now an off-track. Heel, that's now all the space you can use. Loads of lines you can take on that now. It's going to be fantastic to see. What does remain with Watkins Glen is the challenge of tire saving. The track is the equivalent of the Cookie Monster when it comes to tires. And in previous testing, for 120 laps of fuel, liters of fuel, sorry, that's about an hour on these cars. Fuel says you're looking at about 40% left of tire wear. And we're talking a 75-minute race tonight for these drivers. So that will be something they have to keep on their eyes on, as well as also fuel saving, the positions, and what they're going to do. 29 Celsius, 84 Fahrenheit out there right now. It's going to be tight out there. And Daniel, I think, like I was saying, it's not just going to be fuel saving. We're going to keep an eye on who takes the risk and takes any sort of tires.
Well, this is a very, very good point, actually, because we really don't, in a way, we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. So, tyres are a big problem here. We all know that, don't we? Let's be honest. And you know, Watkins Glen takes no prisoners. So, once tyres are, how should we say, the person who manages the tyres best simply be definitely up there. So, we need to make sure that we watch out for that. That will be a very, very key.
Yeah, and it's all about that. It's all about that tire wear, and of course, they always say when you get a hot track, you're looking at just braking earlier, turning in a little bit more smooth. You don't need to thrash the car in. Be gentler on the throttle, and with tire saving, it is that same precipice that you're going to have to take it easy on those tires. Just treat them. They say the egg underneath the throttle. They always say about the egg. That's what it's going to be like with the throttle. You can mash the throttle in these GTs. Will they want to? 75 minutes is a long time, and it doesn't sound a lot. But when you realize 2 mandatory pit stops, it is going to be very treacherous. Now, remember, it is reverse grid from where they finished in the championship so far, which basically just means where they finished last week is where they are starting. So it's going to be interesting to see those drivers for the first time. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, Daniel, seeing the guys that won last week having to make their way around the rest of the traffic. That's going to be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, certainly so. It very much is. It's going to be, like I said, you know, going into this race, it's very, very hard to make predictions. It's going to be very, very hard to make predictions. At the point, we simply don't know. But get through the first sort of maybe 15, 20 minutes, so at least we're going to have some idea what is actually going on. But like I said, that could be, I mean, that could, once the first laps are out of the way, then we can start.
Yeah, and of course, I mentioned the S's, and it is a lap 1 killer. And in history on the World Series, first time the World Series ever came here, they did incorporate a mandatory, not a mandatory, but a requirement of having a quick repair just in case of emergency, in case something did happen on lap 1 at the S's. And something did happen at lap 1 that forced them to cause the safety car, but it wasn't at the S's, it was at the 90, it was at turn 1. One of the drivers on their roof, but the repairs were there needed because it did cause a lot of chaos. Every time I have done a race around here, something has happened that has caused mass damage it could be anything. So look for the S's to start the race. In theory, some of the drivers will be keeping the single file line, taking the racing line as they need to. We'll wait to see what happens with that. Practice has ended, and we are about to get ready for the race. And it is a full formation lap, so it does give us a little bit of time to go over the 32 drivers and where they start tonight, because Jesse Jones will be leading them away in the pros, with Cody Pride taking P2 in the pros. And then it will be Kevin Platten. So we're just getting the grid. There we go. Kevin Platten will be taking P3, and PJ Clysons will be 4th. Civilian Dupois will be 5th, and Lewis Ward will be 6th. And Sean Campbell, 7th. James Armstrong will be 8th. Oscar Copa will be 9th. And Fabian Shosek. Now, he didn't race last week, hence why he's at the back. Remember, Oscar won, but Fabian, where he finished, means that he has to start right at the back. He'll be 10th. And you'll see that later when you go into the Pro-Ams and the rest of them. With the Pro-Ams, Sophie Ridpad will be leading away the Pro-Ams. Quinton Kustal will be taking P2. And then is Harry Wills, followed by Florian Copin, as we just slightly get it. And then Mitchell Marshall Valkoverd will be in the position after that. He'll be next to Ethan Bass. Then you've got Ethan Bass, and it's Daniel Sedgley and Raphael Garin. I think it says Garin there as well, but I believe he is. Yeah, Raphael Garin is down there as well. Adam Chivalesky, Alvin Kelberg, Thomas Reiter, and Neil Ferrier make up the rest of the Pro-Ams. And then we go to the amateurs. Goetz Gisecki will be leading them away. Angel Padero will be beside him, followed by Werner S. And of course, it's Michael Fowler, Simon Dodd, and Andrew Madel. And then Dean Timms, Juan Manuel Cayella, Michael Patterman, and Atred Hal Haddad will bring up the rear. Gonna be, like I said, I'm really curious to see, especially when it comes to the starting formation around here, because with normal iRacing rules, the pace car goes in and you can almost start right away. But of course, with these restart zones, they have to wait. It's gonna have to be a wait. We may see some grouping up in these classes. We just may see a little bit of wait and wait, which means you might get a safer turn 1 because they're carrying less speed.
Well, possibly so. You never really know, do you? To be honest, again, it's going to be very, very hard to determine that until we again go through one. Like I said, at least go through the first couple of laps. We're not really going to know. But you can see there's about a 10-15 second gap between the car classes. The only problem with Watkins Glen is the safety car travels at about 3 miles an hour. So you can see this looks really slow, and that is because it is. You can actually see everyone. That gap should pros and the Pro-Ams. Everyone, I know I did as well on myself. I actually get caught out occasionally by the port because I simply just don't know. I just forget how slow this car actually is, and the pace car. It seems really, really alien. It's actually quite trying to warm your tyres up, or at least you're trying to at least get some heat into them.
No, it is really frustrating. But I believe it's also done for NASCAR purposes around here. For those interested, the pace car speed is 72 kilometers, which I think comes out to about 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 50, 40 miles an hour. My math is not very good, but it is a slow chug around the lap. And it turns what is a 1 minute 40. I say that really, I apologize. It's not actually that. It is 1 minute 44 lap time, and it turns it into almost 3 minutes. And the anxiety's got to be building right now. You're thinking about every possible outcome as you go into turn 1, every possible outcome as you go into the S's and the bus stop. What do you do? What's going to happen? You're thinking of everything right now. You're overthinking it. And then you've got that whole idea that now you've got the pros coming out of the toe. Now I think it's the time you're going to start warming your tyres up. Would you agree?
Yeah, I suppose you've got to be a little bit... I mean, like, warming tyres up doesn't necessarily make that much. If anything, what you do is you want brakes and warming it that way. That tends to be the best way to do it. Generally, from what we've found. It's not all of the time, certainly not, but, you know, it just seems to be a little bit better that way by doing it. Actually, just holding the brakes and trying to get some tyres. rather than sort of weaving from side to side, because it doesn't really, to be honest, what we found doesn't really.
Yeah, a little bit of the brake dragging does help, and of course, also remember that also does give you a little bit of heat to those brakes. Just make sure you do not overdo it and cause brake fade or overheat the tires. That's the last thing you want to see. They're coming up to the penultimate corner, this semi-high speed kink, which is a little tap of the brakes in these GT3s, and in the final corner, got a lot of life here. Remember, you can actually run off a lot on this penultimate corner, but you do get an off track at a certain time. Regardless, Jesse Jones will be leading them away for R-Star Esports. He will take the start at 75 minutes at Watkins Glen for the Race Anywhere World Series. Green flag does not mean go. We will hold on to see what Jesse will do. He may catch them sleeping here. He may go for an early bit. And you know what? He's caught me sleeping. And there we go. They're immediately, straight away, Cody Pride's going to hold up behind. Almost a free wide behind, but it looks like they've managed to hold it on. PJ Clayson is going to be battling Lewis Ward at the start, and he manages to get by. Lewis Ward is going to hold that on now. It's going to be side by side going up the S's. Very treacherous right now. Do they hold on to it? I think Lewis has got that. He does. And when PJ does a lift, he allows James Armstrong to go through, and the Pro-Ams are now going.
They are indeed. What do we got here? So this is Quentin Costal and Sophie Ridpath. They're going to go side by side. I thought for a brief moment go down. Apologies. No, that's Quentin Costal and Harry Wills, actually. You see Sophie Ridpath has now driven away into the distance already. Has pulled out about half a second. Little bit further down. Daniel Sedgley there going side by side on that. Looks like that I believe was Albin Cohen. No, it was Adam Chmielewski that we just saw going side by side there. A bit more side by side action see coming down. We've also got this, but then we've also got the Pro-Ams coming through. Sorry, the AMs coming through.
Yeah, the AMs, I just saw there was almost a free wide going into the first corner there with Madel Dodd, and I don't see who else that was with. I think it was Verda S, but now Madel's just having a little bit of a moment there, having to just lift a bit, and all of a sudden from the middle of the field, he's gone all the way to the back after a little mistake there, going up the S. It just didn't get the right line, got forced a little bit wide, and then forced wide again as he enters the inner loop or the bus stop. And now he's just going to hope on, but he's going to try and make a move on Dean Tim. Won't make it this time. And now, if he makes it down to the chute, he probably will. But now he's in a little bit of a defensive moment here. Can he make anything go on? He's unable to. He's losing quite a few positions at the start of this race, but it's early days. He just has to hold on. And you can see he's not getting anywhere with Dean Timms making the defense.
No, he's not at the moment, is he? Very, very true indeed. Moving a little bit further up in the field, though. Apologies, so there are some drivers that are slightly out of position. We are looking to change that as soon as possible. I'll work on that in the background, so that will be in a time. Daniel Sedgley in the Pro-Ams. He's getting pressured quite heavily by Albin Kelbergs, who's just a couple of tenths behind. Again, this is where now, coming down into the first corner, you've now got the entire run of drivers going wide. You can't go as wide there anymore. You have to make it a little bit tighter. Dan Sedgley, he is going to get pressured at this point from the elbow quite heavily, I would imagine. The gap is already coming down to less than a tenth of a half. It's going to be coming down even more mad in the next few moments. You can see it coming down, although to be fair, Sedgley does have a bit of a toe as well. Elbow then opts to stay behind. We'll see this a little bit more. Moving forward, that is Kaseki's gone a little bit wide, very wide actually. I wonder if that was a bit of a half spin or something. Down quite a few positions. Now, all the way in P9 overall, sorry, P9 in class, P31 overall. Michael Fowler, the only person now behind him who hasn't made the start. More changes up ahead though. Look at what is going on here. This is one Badal Kalasia that's going to go side by side. I thought for a brief moment that Werner S, but rides against it going through the bus. Not quite wise, I think. It's all kicking off, isn't it? That's teammates Michael Patterman and Werner S going to go side by side again in the Lamborghini. The Panda 1 purple Lamborghini, number 75. I think that was a bit of... Was that a bit of contact with Dean Timms there?
It looked it. I'm not entirely sure myself. Might have been a little bit of contact. And they're just jostling position. You can see Madel now. He's just trying to get on that proper line. And he's unable to make any moves at the moment, just with the way Timms is defending. But he does get by around the outside. Really nice move there from Madel around the outside of the toe. He gets that stuck. He is making positions up. but he is now just trying to go. Just a word there on that that going wide by Gasecki. One thing I forgot to pick up for: if you stay wide all the way on that runoff now at turn 1, you can get a slowdown. And I reckon that's what happened there to Gasecki, and I reckon that's why he went all the way to the back, not just because of losing the pace, but he did get a slowdown, I reckon.
That could very well be it. Very, very. A little bit more side-by-side action going on here. This is between Thomas Reiter and Adam Chivalewski. You can see that Thomas Reiter isn't actually there at the moment, but very much is. So Thomas Reiter now gets ahead of the number 14, East Bari. 1 position, plus 2 positions gained for Thomas Reiter as it stands at the moment. Up front, though, this is in the pros. We've got Fabian Sojek and Sean Campbell that are going to have a bit of a side-by-side. I tell you what, is that another Ford? Do we see? Do my eyes deceive me, or is that genuine another Ford that I can see? Doing very, very well indeed. He's up in the 6-4 position gain already. Well, Sojek is really moving forward, isn't he? I'm excited to see a Ford. You know, Ethan Bass is in the...
Yeah, Fabian had a chance of winning the press day and drove very well. You can also see when he made that move on Campbell into the heel that he was able to use that runoff quite a lot there. They managed to give each other some nice room there by using that runoff. And you can just see as well with the Scottish flag on the wing, but Campbell is going to make this move, and I don't think Fabian will fight this. And you know what? He may have left the door open for his teammate, but no, Fabian just shuts the door at the right moment. That could have been a little bit scary there, having Oscar right behind him. But Fabian's going to fight this. We know what the Ford can do on at the straights. We know what it's got with the power. Against this Lamborghini, it's going to be struggling. Campbell will move to the inside. He will try and defend this. There is an overlap. Moving over some more. There is an overlap. Is Fabian going to do this? He backs out of it wisely. And really, that was wide. I wonder, maybe he probably should have lifted there. I'm just thinking. Might have been wise to go for a quick lift there instead of trying to battle that. Just made it just for the fuel. But it is still early days. He should be able to just continue there. And again, with this Ford, the sky's the limit with that top end speed. We know what it can do. We've seen it with Ethan Bass. Fabian is showing what it can do in the pro field. And to be fair, he is quick. So keep eyes on Fabian for the rest of this race.
Very much so, as you say. Keep an eye on car, because that is a very, very quick car indeed. Do you know what? I'm actually surprised. I didn't realise that car was that fast. Prodigy, you're going to see this now happen a little bit now. You will see the overlay start to be updated. So you'll see it flash a couple of times. So again, that is what's happening. Meanwhile, up the front of the Pro-Am category, Harry Wills and Toby Ridpath. Harry Wills is right on the tail of the number 3 for the Racing MW. And doing a very, very good job. But also Sophie as well, able to just keep the car in check as it stands at the moment. That's, again, the last thing to do. Also, do you know what I would probably say, actually, to be honest? If a pass is made, it's not the end of the world, because then that is not spoken about before. Have we not, Craig, many occasions? Ball saving. Ball saving is very, very key indeed. I tell you what, Harry Wills might look around the outside here. Is he going to try and give it a go? I think he might very well do. Last late breakers, and it is Sophie Ridpath. It is last late breakers, a little bit slow though on the apex, though, and I think Harry Wills may have given her a small nudge there. No harm, no foul. What it has meant, though, is Florian Copin is now caught up, as well as, apologies. Craig, you're better at this game than I am.
Of course I'm better than, of course, I would be horrified if I don't get my teammate's name right, but we'll keep eyes on what Harry Wills is doing quickly with Sophie Ridpath. He does not, and Ridpath taking that defense. All of a sudden, it brings in Copin, it brings in Marshall Valkoverd, and also Ethan Bass just came in there, and I think he just made a mistake there going through the bus stop. Yep, he had to take it. Just that whole concertina effect there just brought everybody. So you've got the top 6 all together. And I'll tell you what, it's amazing how much this I'm not saying the pace is slow, but I think it just goes to show the pace, because Ethan Bass is almost catching back up to them after having to serve that slowdown for missing the bus stop. None of these drivers are looking at making moves at the moment. They're all just trying to just give themselves the gap, give themselves space. Hold on, you can just see Marshall Valkoverd there. Every time I say his name, I'm probably getting it wrong, and he's probably going to tell me off for it. That's as good as I'm going to get, unfortunately. And now then, what is this tier with Werner S just quickly? I think Werner S coming around. Oh, I think he's going to cut the grass. He's going to cut the grass. They have got a little bit more runoff there compared to the old scan. There is a little cutout of the grass now, like it is in real life, where there is a little bit of cutoff. But that is not going to work for him. Now, you see in the background, Marshall Wahlberg, he does make a move on Florian Copin there. He will get this position. They are going to fight this. Florian's going to try and fight this around the outside, but he's got the outside. It's going to be compromised. They almost touched. Whoa, they came very close together, and they're going to continue fighting this. Does Florian lift and just take the slipstream? He does. Some great little battling from the two of them. There is some more battling behind, though. Kelberg gets a little nudge. There's a little bit of sliding there. You've got the Bento Racing guys in a sandwich here between the Color Shock Racing and Alvin Kelberg. And they're almost going 3 wide, and they just back out of it. And they're still battling. And Bento Racing down. Who is that? That's 21. 21 goes off. Coping goes off. Kelberg's in the wall. And all of that could have avoided even more damage. More people collected, even baskets collected. Oh, what could have been a move that people could have just prevented it by fuel saving. You've got to feel that. You've got to feel fuel saving there.
Saving is key, is it not? It is indeed. Yeah, the last thing you want to do is to have a monumental crash such as that at the end. Well, 10 minutes into an hour and 15-minute race. There is a long way to go here. So, realistically, yeah, that was a little bit, unfortunately, that didn't go as well as I imagine that everyone wanted it to. There's going to be a couple of replays on that because we definitely want to see what happened there. Unfortunately, Florian Copin was one of the people that did lose out, unfortunately. Let's have a look from Aubin Kelberg's perspective. And again, just a little... I mean, to be fair, Aubin Kelberg didn't actually do anything wrong, I don't think. I think Kelberg was actually a bit... Oh, that was a hefty hit, and it just almost carnage. I wonder if we can get a bit of a replay from the roll bar of Kelberg. Just to see what goes on. Just to see what sort of went on there. So it goes in. Okay, I mean, Kelberg knew that there was always going to be a car back on the inside. So I think Kelberg may have gone into the corner a fraction too fast. Difficult, though, because at that point, you're already in the... You're in it, so you can't really adjust much. Yeah, so Kelberg just gets tapped a little bit on the rear quarter. And then, unfortunately, Ethan tried to avoid as best he could, but... Never in a million years. That's just... The chances of getting through that, very, very slim indeed. Back to live action, though. This is Adam Chmielewski and Thomas Reiter going side. So that's how you do it properly going through the bus stop, is it not?
Well, that's refreshing to see an overtake like that done perfectly. You've got to think as well with that other accident, going back to it, it's teammates trying to make sure they stay together, work together as a team there. And you've got Mitchell and you've got Kelberg there. Both of them unable to have their teammates, because remember, Color Shock Racing, they've got a pro and an am. Kelberg at the privateer. So against the teams, it is going to be a little bit of hustling and bustling, but it is very well done how they managed to do that. But back to this, as we were saying, that is the move that you want to see. Chmielewski getting by, Reiter holding on now for Panda, not wanting to do too much. He's got Daniel Sledgy behind. And even after that big pack at the front got split, there's still a pack at the... I wouldn't say the back, but it's the rest of the Pro-Ams practically in a little pack themselves here, which is very, very nice to see that they will have that advantage of being able to fuel save and go those extra laps. So that's one thing to look out for. And personally, that is what we're going to look at. I think there's maybe some battling up ahead, but no, it was just people moving out of the way. Now, we haven't talked about the pros because, well, there's nothing much going on in the pros at the moment. As you can see on the timing towers, if it's your first time looking at the timing towers, if it's yellow, the gap is less than a second. If it is orange, it is less than half a second. And Andrew Madel, he looks like he's he's less than half a second on Padero there.
Absolutely. And you know what? I believe he is. In fact, let's just have a quick look. That was a battle there. Thomas Reiter and Adam Chmielewski are still battling side by side. We're going to have a look at that in a few moments' time, because that looked like an interesting battle there. But this is going to be one. Look at that. Pedrero had a slow exit going on the exit of turn 1. That has cost him big time. Kept it pinned, though. And Pedrero and Maida, they're going to go side by side. This is going to be a very interesting battle, is it not? I wonder. Have a look at that as well. Dean Timms in the background. He's just going to be watching pretty much he's going to have the best positions. Let's just watch with him. He's caught up a little bit as well. Pedrero manages to stay ahead, and Medel had to back out of it. Again, that's what you need to do, especially at a whole race. You just allow a move to happen. Don't try and push the car too aggressively. Just let it go. Then you can pick up the pieces. Like Dean Timms, look at what's happened now. He's now right onto the back of this pack as well. So, no, P4. Dean Timms, there's a three-way battle for P4. There's still a two-way battle for lead between Clement Dodd and Juan Manuel Caleja. Battles happening all up and down the field, but they're happening at the right time. What has happened to Medel, though? Pedrero had actually gone, again, a little bit too wide. It's going to allow Medel up inside, and there's going to be nothing that Pedrero can do at this point. So the Lamborghini will have to concede the position this time around, and that has, again, allowed Dean Timms to catch back up a little bit. Very deep on the brakes from Pedrero. Manages to keep it all in check. The last thing you want to do is to drop the car or the long straight after turn 1 going down into the bus stop. That is all flat out. You will find the time again. Although Medel has already put at half a second. So I wonder if it's going to be. I wonder if Pedrero is going to be able to fight back with him. Just right on his.
It's interesting to see that. It's almost like the Lamborghini doesn't have the straight line speed. Is it not enough wing? Is it just the driver error? You can just start to see he doesn't get the cleanest of exits there out of the 90, out of turn 1 there. You can see Mado is starting to... He's not starting to pull away because the speed is identical and Pedrero is now getting that slipstream and getting faster, but he's not in a position that he could make a move. Or is he? This would be a very big aggressive. You can see Mado was having to go on the defense, and it's almost again... Yeah, I gotta be brutally honest. We talk about it so much. I'm seeing a lot of moments right here where the drivers are feeling that they've got to be aggressive and make an overtake into the inner loop or the bus stop, but they're not using it for the right methods of fuel saving at the moment. It does feel like these drivers are they're thinking too much about the position. And again, we go back as well to the tires. If they keep doing this and they keep slamming on the brakes, surely that's just going to start wearing those tires out a bit more. And that's not what you want to see right now. You want to try and keep these tires going well.
Yeah, so you can adjust your driving style to make sure that you have a good clean set of tires by the end of the race. Now, a lot of people like, yes, Watkins then is an aggressive track on tires. Is it something you can still manage? Absolutely. You just have to make sure you're going into these corners, just like under 9/10 or 8/10. You don't want to be going in too fast, but again, limiting your steering angle, stuff like that, you can do it. It's not easy to manage, but once it's one of those things. It's hard to learn, easy to master. That sort of thing there. As we see a little bit, I thought Harry Wills was going to try that move then, on the up the inside of Buster. I mean, that's a very brave move. Any point in the race, especially when you've still got a pretty heavy old car at the moment. So have not got as much direction change. So you got to be committed with that move, and Harry Wills did certainly give it a go, but now unfortunately actually dropped back to second. That has allowed the 18 Porsche to come through, and that is, I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that is Marshall Ed.
That's better than how I could do it. That's as good as we can do it.
Am I not going to get shouted at?
You're not going to get shouted at. I'm going to get shouted at. Don't worry about it. I hate putting his name on the car. Oh, Harry just clips the grass there, keeps it out of the wall, but does lose a little bit of time. Now, while these two have been battling and Mitchell's having to hold on, it's allowed Chmielewski to come into the toe. It's allowed others to come into the toe. Now, Lewis Ward's got a nice little move here with Campbell. Let's just get back on this very quickly. It looks like Lewis has decided, look at that. Lewis straight away lifted. He knew Oscar had the move there. It was Oscar, not Sean. Apology. He knew he had that move done. What did he do? He lifted. He just went on with it. And that is what I haven't seen from the other classes. No knocking, of course. No knocking about that. It's not a knock on those drivers. But that fuel saving could help Lewis down the long run of near the end of the race. Maybe get an extra lap. You just don't know. But it's allowed Copa to get by. Now he can start thinking about catching up to his teammate, catching up to Campbell. They can start working start doing their own fuel saving again as they start to pull away. Create their own pace away from Lewis Ward and Fabian and PJ. That's what they need to do right now. And you can start to see, since Cope has made that move, the gap is already 0.6 of a second, and he is catching his teammate. So that number will soon go down, I think, for Coper and Campbell. That will look for it to go yellow, and then we can start seeing things. But elsewhere, just look at the sea of orange and yellow in the Pro-Ams and the AMs. Fantastic close driving all the way around. At the front of the pros, it's pretty quiet, apart from this midfield.
Yeah, it is indeed, actually. And as you say, it's something that, everyone's being, in Dutch word, everyone's now sort of becoming sensible, I think, which is always what we want to do. A little bit further down the order, though, Neil Ferrier and Dan Sedgey having a bit of a move, gone up the inside. Is Neil Ferrier done and dusted. Lovely job. Second to last corner. Happy days. AC Motor by Twisted number 91, Lamborghini, moves up into 7 in class and P17 overall. Still, the battle is raging on up ahead between Gridpath and Harry Wills, and that is as well Marshall Kved. I will get this quicker and quicker every single time. Marshall Kved in P3 as well. So we'll keep an eye on that battle. It's sort of like it's bubbling away. There's not really much going on at the moment. It's sizzling. And when you like a sizzle, just it's simmering. That's it. So we'll keep an eye on it. There are a couple more battles to be served. One of which is versus Clayson. Have a look at this. You've got the Ford ahead of the wall. I thought it was a bit of a lunge there by Clayson's, but as of yet. And then further down the order as well. Having a quick look, there's actually a decent little battle here. This is for the lead going down into the AM categories. Kaleja versus Patama are going to go side by side down into the bus stop. Decide against it, though. A little bit too much curve from Kaleja. That would have cost them a little bit of time. However, Patterman and Dodd have some time as well. So, overall, not necessarily pretty even Stevens now. I thought that was going to be a bit of a... Definitely thought that Patterman was going to try and send it around the outside. Because, again, the overspeed that Patterman had was absolutely insane. But, again, nothing as of yet. Just trying to see if there's a couple of different replays that we need to look at. I believe there are a couple. Cody Pride, one of them. Cody Pride has had a small moment. This will be ahahas. This is going off. So, yes, you do have the use of the extra runoff. However, that's just too much. You've got to be careful to... One of the problems we do have is as you get onto the speed, is if people get onto the front early, then the front end essentially lifts up and the car just washes wide. And then at that point, it's very, very hard to get back.
Yeah, and like you were saying as well, especially when you then get on the grass as well, and then you're having to take your lift off the grass and just hope the grass takes you away. Otherwise, getting onto the throttle does not help you. So, managing to avoid it, managing to keep on going. Now we're back with this battle in the Pro-Ams as Ridpath holds on as well. We'll keep on to the amateurs when we get our chance to, as they are still battling as well. But Ridpath once again taking the defense there, holding that lead over Harry Wills. Now, you've got to think to yourself right now, with all this defending Sophie's doing, a little bit of a slide there from Wills and another slide, sorry. With all this defending they're doing, you've got to start thinking to yourself, sooner or later, somebody is going to be able to go that extra lap on fuel. Now, had Marshal Valkover, has he gone a little bit too wide there with Chmielewski? He has not. I was thinking for a moment, might have been a move there, but there is nothing. They're keeping it pretty tidy. After that little issue at the inner loop earlier, they're keeping it tidy now, the Pro-Ams. There's not a lot of danger going on. It's just really being alert, giving yourself the space, which in this case, fuel saving is giving you the space and it's helping you. It is the best thing. But of course, this final corner, especially with the speed you carry, the wall is basically your exit apex. The dirty air must be killing. You can start to see the car, just a little bit of understeer. One of those cars, that's Chmielewski, does jump into the pit, deciding that the pit window, it's open. A little bit early, but it is open. And I think he's decided that's what he wants to do. Has Wills got a run here? He did get a little bit of a tap there when going over the bumpers. I don't mean the car. I just mean with the bumps there at the first turn at the 90. And it almost looks like, and do you know what? Mitchell's decided he was going to lift. He's just going to let them go. I just noticed that. That was an early lift there. And now he's just going to let Wills and Ridpad do it themselves.
It's sensible, isn't it? That's very, very sensible. You know, have an eye out, keep an eye on what Marshall Cavert is going to be able to do. Keep an eye on how much pace towards the end of this stint is we're going to find, or we're going to see Color Shot Racing Team number 18 to have. Meanwhile, again, it's still Sophie Ridpard doing a fantastic job of defending. Just keeping everything in check. Keeping Harry Wills behind him. That's actually, again, it's allowing Mitchell to catch back up once again. So, in the day, again, look at Sophie Ridpard. Look at what she's doing at the moment. Perfect car placement. Just hitting it in the you have. Then got a 50-50 chance of what's going to happen. And then Harry Wills has got to decide one or the other, but there's no real click of doing it. So very, very good car placement then. Harry Wills is trying absolutely everything to try and get by. I mean, do you know what? At this point, I probably wouldn't even... Yeah, I wouldn't bother. Rather than allow Garin to catch up as well. And the gap, yes, it's 3 seconds, but have a look at that. That will come down. Don't do wrong. The rate that one is battling, that will certainly come down. So, got to be careful. Actually, and tell you what, look at that. Marshall Caverda's done. Do you know what? I've had enough. I want to come in. This is going to be the undercut. I wonder if this is going to be a prime undercut. Because if the number 18 has some pace in clear air, and Harry Wills and Sophie Ridpath both continue to battle, work in favour here. We will have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see as well, because you've got to remember, Chmielewski, we just see what happened to PJ, was then Chmielewski has also pitted. He's been forced to come early, has Marshall Vogue, but he has been forced. Now, PJ, that looks like that's hardware failure. That is hardware failure by the looks of it. Therefore, PJ, and I did see him retire. I wondered why he retired, and here's Andrew Madel right now, and he is in a battle. He's a P3, because it looks like we've seen, Simon Dodd's come into the pits. We've seen a couple of them into the pits already. So Madel comes in. Now, Marshall Vogvord, he has come out behind Chmielewski, a second and a half behind Chmielewski. But at the same time, his teammate is up the road. His Color Shot Racing teammate's up the road. I'm not saying there's going to be anything he can gain from this, but if he needs the help, he can use somebody for more slipstreaming while Madel's watching this for the lead. Padaman and Kalea, in their little battle. He's just watching this right now. Again, it's the same situation his teammate was in the Pro-Ams. He's just going to keep watching. And one thing I'm curious to see, it's a little tip with fuel saving I've developed at Daytona. Remember the Daytona 24 coming up. With these long straights, there's no reason to lift and create a gap sometimes. It's better to go 80 to 90% throttle to keep the same gap, because you're fuel saving because you're in the slipstream, and you're fuel saving because you're not going full throttle. And I expect to see that with a couple of these drivers right now.
It's probably not too far off, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, and it's a type of way to be able to save some fuel. And have one more backing off now. So this, again, the positioning of it now, fuel saving time, let try and get. What Sophie needs to do at this point is also start to fuel save a little bit. Bit of lift and coast, bring the car into the lower, allow the car to go through, because you know Harry Wills is doing it. At this point, you would think, right, got by me, or at least try to make. That has not happened. So that then tells me Harry Wills is now saving. Person behind me is saying, I now don't need to worry really about happening. As long as I'm not going pace. Okay, what? Wrong, and he's going to try and go on the outside of the boot. That's never going to work in a bit. On the amber set, pulls over the top of the track, and that helps. Pretty much every row is now in pits. Jess Jones, James Armstrong, Sean Campbell, Gary Per, Fabian Set, Kevin Platt, Cody Pride, Lewis. They're the people that are pitted. So, yeah, higher pro field.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who gets the jump, because we know that James Armstrong's been slipstreaming Jesse Jones to start this race. So maybe James will go for a little bit of a, maybe get ahead there. He's been able to save a bit more fuel, but everyone is all in that. And there you go, straight away. James has gone for it. I don't even think that's a low cut. And look at that. Jones, sorry. I say Jesse James for some reason. Jesse Jones stays ahead, though, because of where he is in the pit lane. You would have thought that was going to go. Here's the Pro-Ams, though, ready for what I call the slowest race in motor racing. Who comes out of the pit lane first? This is an interesting one. Harry Wills has saved a lot of fuel. There's a grid box between the two of them that he has to go by. Now, be interested to see does either of them go for a different pit strategy. Does one of them go short? Does the other one go long? Do they both just fill it up to the brim? And there's your answer. Harry Wills is going to get the jump, and they're side by side. They're side by side, and Rick Pav has it. I don't know how that works in the real world, and I think Harry's going to be kicking himself there. Maybe if he did a bit more fuel saving, he would have stayed another lap. I don't think it's too much of a time loss if you stayed out on your own there. We've seen a lot of people, they're not doing the fuel saving, just coming in. You've got to think to yourself, that's what's going to happen. Because look who's come out 3 seconds ahead of them. Chmielewski and Marshall Bogford are ahead of them by 3 seconds. The power of the undercut, as we predicted.
Well, yeah, we said this, didn't we? It's one of those things where if you're able to now, if you are able to do that little bit of fuel saving, I mean, why would you not? But you have to get to a point where you turn around and think, do you know what? This might actually be working for me. Harry Wills now tries to go around the outside. Bear in mind, there's no tyre changes here as well. So these are both now driving on full fuel cars. Harry Wills sent it around the outside. Fair play indeed. Manages to keep it in check. And there's now going to be on the inside, but then Sophie Ridpath decides that she doesn't want to give up that position that easily. Holds it around the outside, and they are once again side by side fully now going down into the latter half of this lap. Sophie's just got the slight edge, the number 3, but then Harry Wills is now going to be on the inside. For the next corner, is going to be Ridpath is now on the inside. Coming through once again, still side by side. This has been the entire lap, bear in mind at the moment. And you know what? I think Ridpath is just about to get it. Could squeeze Wills out, but decides against it this time. They're still side by side. Second to last corner, Harry Wills is going to be hard-pressed to keep it there in check, and he has to back out of it eventually. That move that wasn't wasn't exactly successful. It wasn't successful ultimately. Good old go, though. That took half a lap. So Harry Wills has got to do that all over again. Now, the problem is Harry Wills has made that sort of positioning. Well, Ridpath now knows where to place the car. So now you've got to think about it as like, well, what sort of, what happens there? Is Harry Wills going to have to try and do something different now, possibly? Again, that could be also something you've got to take into consideration. Lots and lots of things there that will, or that can certainly change how everything is feeling. Again, you can see trying to dart one way then the other. At the moment, I mean, again, just save the fuel. There is no point at this moment. You just save the fuel, because look at that. Harry Wilson now dropped a bit of time, nearly goes a bit wide going through the carousel. I thought that was going to be a moment there. But manages to keep it all in check.
The overspeed there going into the bus stop there. It did not help him there. Unfortunately, that cost him a little bit, because with that overspeed, he went too far and too wide. And you can see out ahead of them, Chmielewski and Mitchell, they're just ahead. They came out the pits 3 seconds ahead of them. They're now 5 seconds. So that's 2 seconds they gained from just all that battling. And like we were saying, enough's enough. Sometimes you have to just concede that you have to do the fuel saving. And like I said, he's going to be kicking himself. Well, I would, if I was Wills there, I probably would have undercutted, or I would have tried for an overcut. All this hard racing, it's not going to do you good. And also, those tires are starting to get eaten by the track, and that's going to be really tough. Will he try again? It's going to be hard to try again. He needs the perfect turn 1, and if he keeps onto the back here, he's not going to get it. Watch again. No lifting, just straight in. He wants to try and get the best, but he's got to fight with the dirty air, and he gets the speed. Now, where does he go in the S's? There's no way you can go in the S's. The moment you go offline, you lose the speed. So you come out of the S's, and that will give Sophie the inside line, and he will have to try and go around. So, what are we now? Lap 19? What's this? Round 17, maybe? He can't do anything. And he breaks early and clips the grass. Wow, that's a good save. But look at the time he's lost.
Indeed, very, very good save, as you say. Up the front, though, there's a bit of a battle in the pro field. Jess Jones and James Armstrong are having a good old tussle. Less than 2/10 is the gap now between the Lamborghini and the Audi. Pretty much the same sort of platform. Arguably, one is a bit more difficult to drive than the other. But they have got both quite similar characteristics in some ways, and then and very, very different characteristics in others. I wonder if James Armstrong, is he going to be, again, saving fuel, or is he simply trying to make that move happen sooner rather than later? Let's now ride on board with James Armstrong for a little bit, just to see what is going to happen. Have a listen for the engine note as well. I think there was already a tiny bit of a lift there. Yeah, you can just hear, yeah, there you go. There's the confirmation of the lift. The car dropping, James Armstrong now dropping back in the Sim 3D Sport car. So, again, playing the long game here. It doesn't really make too much of a difference on this first pit stop. However, the second pit stop is where it makes the difference, because that's where you're going to be able to carry potentially less fuel than your opponent. So fuel saving is certainly key here. There was actually a battle and a move that has just happened for, I believe, this is Michael Patterman and Andrew Medell as we now go through. Yes, it is indeed. Patterman gets ahead of Medell. And that now moves Patterman up into second place. So that is definitely, something we need to keep an eye out for. And I tell you what, I thought Medell was going to try and throw it up the inside there. Decides against it though. And once again, look at the camera angle. God, I love a fixed camera angle shot. Really, really shows how fast these cars can go through this last corner. Medell at the moment, no move yet. Again, another opportunity to save some fuel. What this is doing, though, as Patterman goes a little bit wide, that's going to leave the door open for Medell, possibly. I think it... Yes, it does. Side by side up the hill, that's not going to be what you want to do, is it?
No, he cut too much of the curb. He had a little bit of the slide on the curb there. He had the perfect speed. You see some accidents there. Oh, my word. Who was that going wide? That was in front of Aaron. I'm not sure who that was, but unfortunately, that happened. Now, Medell almost lost the position. Oh, I'm just sorry. I'm just watching something else. Ferrier here now. Bastard, that was the... Yes. No, I did see that earlier. That was... that was Ferrier. Now, we know that the inside curb has a... Sorry, the outside curb, has a ridge. And I know for the LMP2s, you don't want to go over it. A lot of the pro drivers just going completely over it, destroying the floor. That's the first time I've seen a GT car go fully over that and the car just say no. But there is that rise on that first part of the bus stop now, the inner loop. And you've got to be careful when you do it. Just like Medell's got to be careful here because he's not had a very good lap here. After that run on Patterman, he lost a bit of momentum. He had Padero on his rear. He's probably doing a bit of mirror watching right now instead of looking ahead. Because I don't think there's going to be a move here. I think the best thing to do, especially in this format, I know it's hard to not mirror watch. But if you know in this format that the only real overtaking spots are turn 1 and the bus stop, then you should be able to just keep yourself focused at the front here and just look forward instead of the mirror watching. Maybe that caught him off guard. Who knows? He'll probably tell me no, and he'll probably laugh at me for saying that, but who knows? He has got another shot here, and we saw Patterman last lap have a little bit of a slide going through here. It was cleaner by Patterman. And again, remember that curbing, it looks weird nowadays. But the moment you take all four wheels off that orange and yellow, orange and red curbing, that's an off track. They only get 25 incident points in a race. You don't really want to use them up by just taking that line very wide. But Medell, he's in the middle here. There's going to be no move from behind him, and there's no chance for him to catch up at the moment to the front. He's just in a little bit of limbo at the moment. Can he use this to get some fuel, though?
We will have to see. I believe, actually, do you know what we are? We're gonna have a chat in the middle of the race. I believe we're going to have a chat with Neil Ferrier in a few moments' time. He's going to jump in. He's going to jump in chat. I wonder if we can actually get Neil, if you are watching. I wonder if we can get a live conversation with you because unfortunately his car is done and dusted. That was a pretty hefty shunt. So unfortunately there'll be no more driving from Neil Ferrier at this moment in time. So Neil, if you are there, please. And in fact, here he is. Let's have a. We'll bring him in. Let's have a quick chat. Craig, you'll have a chat with Neil if you like.
Yeah, let's do this right now. So we say hello to Neil there, and unfortunately, Neil, that was an unfortunate moment there. Was it just too much of the curbing? Because it looked like the car just was unsettled when you hit the apexes there of the bus stop.
Yeah, yeah, that was exactly what it was. Obviously, this is the first time I've actually had a proper race around this circuit since I got rescanned, so I was kind of learning it as I went because I literally had no practice. I've been doing a lot of practice for Daytona 24, so yeah, completely forgot about this race this week, and I was like, oh, better get some laps in. But yeah, it's just all about knowing what you can and can't do, and unfortunately, it caught me out.
Yes, of course. As we know, it's a new look Watkins Glen for this season on iRacing. Apart from the bus stop catching you out, and to be fair, you're not the only one it's called out. It's called out quite a few people. What have you noticed in terms of the big differences to this new one compared to the old Watkins that a lot of people have been used to for the last 10 years, really, on iRacing?
Yeah, it was. To be fair, I actually quite enjoy this one. The the biggest one that I know of or see, and you can actually get away with now, is turn one. The fact that they've extended the runoff right along now, so you can actually get, if you run wide, you don't have to like try and squeeze on back on the circuit before the grass now. So that's improved it quite a bit because in previous races and like official stuff, that's where everything was happening. So if you started at the back in a race, you could genuinely make up quite a few places by the end of the lap one because of that rejoin at turn one. So uh, the whole circuit's different. To be honest with you, braking's on it in turn one's a bit different. Obviously, the bus stop chicane curbs are different now as well. There's quite a few, but I enjoyed it for the short amount of time that I was in the race. To be honest with you, just after the first pit stop as well. So, hey ho, that happens.
It's all about racing. I mean, Okayama is going to be a completely different track next week. I don't know if you're looking forward to the Okayama experience, but of course, once you get Daytona over, you'll be all focused on this anyway. I'm pretty sure of that. Am I right? Once you finish Daytona, you'll be straight on practicing for Okayama, correct?
Oh, 100%. I've done quite a few laps of Yokohama and GT3 cars previous, so yeah, it's got to be interesting. Obviously with pros and the arms and stuff as well, so it's got to be interesting to see what the actual pace difference is in there and how quick the pros could catch some of the arms and maybe get through some of the pro arms. It's got to be really interesting. This is quite a long lap, whereas when we go to Okayama next, and it's quite a short circuit. So yeah, it's one of them. It's got to be a completely different race, and yeah, it's got to be. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it after I get Daytona out of the way. Daytona has been the main focus for the last couple of weeks. Just getting the laps in. So once Daytona's out of the way, I'll be straight back in and doing laps for Okayama. That's for sure.
Any shout-outs before we let you go?
Just a big thanks to Harry and the guys at Team Twisted, and obviously you guys for putting the broadcast on and Race Anywhere for back in the series as well.
Well, it's unfortunate what happened to you tonight, but Neil, all the best. We hope to see you. Good luck and go well this weekend for your 24. And we look forward to seeing you at Okayama.
Yeah, speak to you guys at Okayama. Thank you.
All the best, Neil. Well, that was a very nice interview, and you've been watching the sights and the sounds as well going around of these pros. And you see Jesse Jones is now just leading away, just taken away, and you can see. I don't think that the overlays are correct because Armstrong is actually 0.3, not 13 points. Well, not 1.337 away from Jesse Jones, but you can start to see that he is still, as they're going around lap traffic now, just holding on to it. And it's one thing in a faster car to be able to keep onto the gaps when going around that traffic, but to do it in the same category, well, the same class of car, but different categories, that's something different. Now, we're going to look at some quick replays quickly. That is Dean Timms going very inside there at the outer loop, making it stick. Lovely move there. He'll hold on, and then he holds on to the chute. Look at it, just holding on to it, taking the inside, going up, fantastic. And then Florian Copin goes round again, heavy impact into the barrier. And that force just throws him upside down. That's unfortunate. But anyway, back to the lead battle here. You're not missing much. 31 minutes remaining.
Indeed, as you say, 31 minutes are remaining now, so less than halfway. I tell you what, this 44 minutes, 45 minutes has gone very, very quickly, to be fair. So Jess Jones, as you say, still leading. Bottom right-hand corner, you can see the delta of what is going on. You can see the dashboard of the live speed and also the gears used as well. And overall, we'll be using pretty much the same gears here. Some cars can be quite interesting because you may see some different gearing being used depending on the car. I think the W12 will probably be quite different from person to person because they will be using the car in a slightly different way. But even as well, like, have a look at the sort of the gear changes. Like, sometimes the gear changes of people are actually surprisingly different. It's amazing how different that they can actually be. But then again, not necessarily all of the time. It very much is dependent, very much is dependent from person to person. But the gap sort of ebbs and flows between Armstrong and Jones. It's currently around sort of 0.4 of a second, then it drops down to 0.2, then it goes back to about 0.3, then it goes up again. And it just dices back and forth. Very, very hard, actually, to really see who is faster. And do you know what? I don't really think anyone's actually faster than anyone else, to be perfectly honest. I think it's more, sort of their different speeds at different points, I think is probably the best way to describe it here. But Patterman and Kalea, I tell you what, Patterman has pulled away from Adele and is now right onto the back. I thought Kalea was going to actually pull away. There was a bit of battling between the number 75 and the number 11. I thought they were going to sail off into the distance, but that is, as we can see here, that is very much not the case.
Not the case at the moment, but yeah, you think that Madel is still there. He's just, I wouldn't say he's on the outside looking in, but he's in that place where he still gets a toe. He's just out of range maybe for a double toe. He's still got the toe. He's still looking good. Fuel saving will be fine. And realistically, he can let those two battle. And if they start fighting, he doesn't need to worry too much. You can start to see that Patterman just starting to have a little look now. He's just starting to take... Look at these different lines that you can see the Porsche there. Maybe just getting a little bit wide there. Couldn't hug the apex. And Patterman absolutely on that apex. Tight as he could be. All those different lines do play havoc there and can be different. It's a tough corner, that uphill left-hander there. The first of the final 3 corners. You can just go, love that camera angle. Never going to get old. Continues on. Now, does Patterman get a run here? Remember, he hasn't had the best of times around here. He gets dirty air this time, takes a lot of the inside curb, and you see that it upsets the apple cart there, upsets that car a little bit. Gonna lose a little bit of time here. He won't be able to make a move. They're even on speed, and now as they come over the hill, Patterman starts to get the speed. But is it all too late? We'll have to see. Kalea is going to go to the inside. Patterman's now got the full overlap. He may make this. They're going to go side by side into the bus stop, and Patterman said, no, I'm going to play it safe. And that is some good, smart driving from Patterman there. I think he was waiting. I think both of them were waiting to see who would blink first in that situation. It does allow Madel to come back into the fray. Can he hold on to this? I'm not sure if he's looking for a move right now. Remember, 28 minutes left. Officially, the pit window is open. Now, not that anyone should make this move, but it does allow you to start thinking undercut, super undercut, especially if you're in the likes of Madel. If he knows what his teammates done already when him and Chmielewski undercut Ridpath and Wills, he may do it. He may do it. Because right now, I think everyone's holding everyone up at the moment in this lead of the amateurs.
It'd be interesting to see, like, maybe what we may be having is Kalea is actually sort of just pulling off the pace a little bit just to try and keep those tyres in check. I imagine that the tyres will be starting to hurt drivers a little bit now, especially if they've been driving a teeny tiny bit too aggressively early on. Although, again, very much depends on the driving style of the individual. Like, for me, I tend to be relatively... it's one of the stronger points, definitely, for me. I tend to be better on the tyres than some people, even if they are maybe a tiny bit faster than me in certain other areas. But it generally will tend to just even out because of that. So, it's not necessarily something that you can turn and say, no, this is the fastest way, this is the slowest way. It depends on everyone. It depends on your personal preference. So, like I said, for me, being able to go into I tell you what, this is going to be it. Patterman, I'm going to interrupt myself. Patterman again tries to go on the outside, decides against it. I almost say if Patterman wasn't going to make the move, I probably wouldn't try and instigate a move being made. I would simply just sit behind. Because what's happening is what you're going to do is you're slowing yourself down. Whereas everyone that was Simon Dodd going very wide there on the exit, the long, fast, like carousel right-hander. Yeah, the gap isn't too far away, bear in mind. Do keep an eye out for that. Because I wonder, thinking about it, is this going to be something that, if you have a look at the AM now, so you see Simon Dodd, the gap is 6.9 seconds. Now keep an eye on that, because if Kalea and Patterman continue to battle, there's 25 minutes left to go of this race. That gap can come down, and it will come down quite quickly if this battling continues. So we may even see a 4-way battle, possibly even a 5 or 6-way battle for the lead at some point.
Madel's come in. Sorry, Madel's come in. I think he's listening there. He knows, because a tank of fuel here lasts about VRS levels. If you know the VRS series, the GT Open, it's about 30 minutes a tank. There's 25 minutes left. Yes, he sacrifices. This is crucial. He's missed his pit box. He's lost half a second there. He's missed his pit box. You sacrifice that time of being able to go fast on empty tank of fuel. But look at the track position. Yes, he loses a bit of track position now. He's just made that mistake and missed his pit box. But it gives him a free track. Yes, he'll have the pros. But he's only got a couple pros left to come by him, as we were just watching this battle with Simon Dodd. He's got a couple of pros left to go by him. That could be really good for Madel. We'll wait and see. Like we said, we store it with Chmielewski. We store it with Maciej Alkmaar. I keep saying that fast to make sure he can't understand what I'm saying, because I know I'm going to butcher that completely. But you see it as well. It could be deciding factors like this right now. Ridpad and Reiter are continuing their battle, and there you go. Is that Reiter coming in? That is Reiter coming in as well. So Sophie Ridpad on her own. Harry Wills as well. He's not had it all his way, but look at the gaps after all that fighting, because Wills, Ridpath have lost 10 seconds since every one of those pro-ams pitted. They already lost 4 seconds when they came out the pits because of all the battling they were doing, and it's now 10 seconds. There's fuel saving, they're staying in a pack, and there's that. I think somebody had to grab the bull by the horns there, like a peloton, and go, we need to pick up the pace.
Well, certainly so. And you know, we can see that it has paid off. It's taken... playing the long game is always easy. It's always more difficult. Playing the long game is always more difficult because you've got to commit to it. You've got to commit to that strategy so much more, so much earlier, so much quicker, whatever. When you don't, or when you're... And this is something that I actually did a little bit... I've done a few times in the past before. I've been a little bit indecisive on what's actually happening and what's going on. And because I've been a bit indecisive on it, I've ended up turning around and then lost time because of... I've ended up losing time because of it. Because I can't... I sort of like half the session I'll do something, and then the other half I then turn and think, actually, do you know what? No, I want to change my strategy. But by that point, you can't. That's it. You just can't. You can't change it after that. You need to be committed in what you're doing. So I can sort of understand, it can be a little bit trickier to maintain that strategy. But if you can, chances are 9 times out of 10, it will pay off. It will almost certainly pay off. And if it's wrong, doesn't matter. Learn from it. Move on. You just got to stick with your guns. And when you're making a decision, especially on strategy, regardless whether halfway through you think, oh, this is right or wrong, generally by that point, it's all ready to... I've just had a quick look as well. Look at the class.
I was just looking at that. I was about to do a PSA and apologise for that. So.
Well, we're being inclusive of everyone's names here. So at the end of the day, it manages... Some of the things we've seen, it doesn't actually fit. Or as you can see in Pro-Am, you can see on the left the time it's out. Unfortunately, the name is compressed so much that it looks like a barcode more than anything. Marcel, I do apologise for that.
You don't have to put his name on the top of cars when we have to do team events. I do. Not that I made this livery, but I do. And let me tell you, it does make things look a little bit out of place when you've got his name like that. But it's all good fun at the end of the day. Every time I look at it, every time you look at it, it does look very weird. I should, but it's it's Dutch names. It's Dutch names. I think everyone can have a little bit of a laugh at that. But he is out in the lead. He's seen Chmielewski came in early. But of course, remember, they undercut it. Now, Mitchell did undercut a lap or two later, but he's coming in now. And this could be interesting. He had a 1.5 second gap. He was 1.5 seconds behind Chmielewski. Can he gain anything? He was definitely fuel saving, but he wasn't in slipstream all the time. Redpath's going to come by because Sophie has yet to pit. She'll take the de facto lead with Harry Wills behind. But where is Chmielewski on track right now? There he is, coming out of the first of the final 3 corners into the little kink at the end. Where is Mitchell? He's still in the box. He hasn't even got out of the box yet. When is he going to move? Chmielewski is almost there. Something happened to Mitchell here. He's taking tires.
Oh, no! Why?
Oh, no! 20 seconds lost. Can he get them unticked?
No, that's it. Once they're done, they're done. You have not got a choice. If the car goes up on jacks, that is it. You have the only way that you can adjust, the only way you can do it is if you, I'm pretty sure, like, once it does a set, it has to then do that particular set, whether it's the front or the rears. You can, I believe, take it and tick it off, so it doesn't take both sets, but ultimately it has to take either the front or the rears. It can't just take one.
Well, you want to know a little bit of saving grace, though? Thomas Reiter, as Mitchell was coming out the pit, spun out of turn 1. So he's managed to save 1 position. We're about to see it right now. Here is Thomas Reiter. But that probably, look, Chmielewski, 18.5 seconds. That has cost Mitchell. That has cost him the win. But I reckon it's not going to cost him P2. With the pace those two are doing, I don't think, I'm knocking on wood here, I don't think he's going to be too worried. Remember, fresh tires, a lot of these tires are about to be going to be shredded. Some of these drivers are going to be looking after these tires now. I wouldn't be surprised. We're coming up to an hour. In the race, we may get people starting to be told, look after your tires. It's going to be close. But that is gut-wrenching. What could have been a chance of victory there turned into now a see if we can make the podium. That's such a shame for Mitchell.
It is indeed. It's very easily done. Unless this was a strategy call, possibly. Maybe it was the fact that it wasn't necessarily a mistake as such. It was simply due to necessity because the tyres were actually really, really quite worn down. That could possibly be something to consider as well. You know, again, we'll have to see. We've now got, this is Jess Jones, and right behind James Armstrong coming into the pits as well. So does Sean Campbell. I imagine that Oscar Coper and pretty much the entire pro field will again be coming into the pits. There goes Oscar Coper, you can see on the left-hand side. Dupree is the next person to come in. He's a few seconds back, though, but I'm sure we're going to see him coming down. I doubt anyone saved an additional lap of fuel here. So this is where it makes a difference now. Depending on how much fuel you've saved, regardless if you're on the same lap or not, what it does mean, though, is you have now this option. Ah, interesting. Have a look. Kevin Platon has not come into the pitch yet. He has managed to go an extra lap. Doesn't sound like a lot. It's a couple of seconds saved.
It's going to be interesting. I'm also keeping my eye on this right now with the Pro-Am. Everybody had pitted. Everybody in the Pro-Am had pitted. Chmielewski, something went wrong with Chmielewski as well. He spent 1:49 cone to cone in the pits. So Harry Wills takes the lead, and Harry Wills comes into the pits. Garin comes into the pits. Sophie Ridpad will take the lead, but start to see some of these gaps right now. It's looking very interesting. There's Chmielewski. Sorry, Chmielewski, the head of Ridpad. Sorry. Ridpad, who has already come out the pits. Daniel Sedgley's come out the pits. So really, you're looking at Chmielewski, Ridpad, Sedgley, Masha Valkoverd are the top 4. And again, look at the gap, though. I'm really curious to see what these fresh tyres will do for Mitchell. But I'm looking at the times. Most of these drivers are doing 48 seconds in the pit lane. he did a minute 2. That doesn't sound like 4 tires. That sounds like 2. I reckon he's taken. I reckon he's taken a set of rears and just tried to just go with the grip. It's something from experience I know he has done before. Maybe he's just decided to go for a different set. Take a couple tires, see what happens there. It may work out for him. Who knows? It could be the strategy play, or I could just be trying to make excuses and he had them ticked by accident.
Yeah, I wonder actually. Yeah, as you say, maybe this is a choice of, and possibly to see if he can get some additional time. The problem is in the Porsche, is if you're trying to do this in the Porsche, what you've then got to consider is, at this point, you've got to consider that the Porsche, yes, it generally has good traction anyway because the engine's over the rear. So the tyres you almost would want to focus on in a way, possibly, is the front, because now you've got a lot of grip over the back. You haven't got that much grip over the front of the car anyway, because obviously it hasn't got that much weight over there. So you've got to transfer more weight over to the front, which means you have to trail brake more, which could then lead, if the fact you've got more grip in the rear, to more understeer build-up, which will then lunch your tyres at the front even more. I may be thinking too much into this, but it's something generally to consider, is these Porsches, you need to keep that weight over the front to make sure that the car is kept in check at the front. Because if these tyres go, especially again within the 911, if the front tyres really start to wear down, and they wear obviously significantly quicker than the rears, this car just becomes a pig to drive.
Yeah, we just had a little bit of a slide on the exit there, but he is doing half a second lap faster than some of the other drivers, so that is one to keep an eye out for with 15 minutes to go. But we're watching this battle for the amateur lead. Andrew Mado, unfortunately, has not been able to keep up with these two. Padaman and Kair are there and are battling, and now really it is a case of there won't be any fuel saving anymore. If Juan Manuel can make this move, he will. Padaman has driven a pretty good drive up the field, it is safe to say. At one stage, he was P3. He's had to make this work for him. He's done very well to make it work. Can he hold on to it? On paper, the Lamborghini should have that speed advantage to the Porsche. I'm trying to think right now. Yeah, it does. But he then has to make sure he makes it work. And the tires are starting to get old. They're starting to struggle right now. Can they hold on? And also, just behind them, as you'll see very shortly in the back of the camera, there you see, just in the back, that is Armstrong and Jesse Jones having a little battle. Yes, James Armstrong took the lead away from Jesse Jones at the pit stops and earlier on. So they have to watch out that while they are battling right now in the amateurs, the league battle of the pros will be coming to them very shortly. And that will split these two up, because ideally these guys will not want to split up the pros. There's James Armstrong for Sim 3D Sport. And you can see behind it with Jesse Jones for RSR. They need to basically play the safe. There's over a second gap, though, for Armstrong. Could he be on for another victory here? 13 minutes to go. It is going to be very interesting.
It is indeed, as you say, 13 minutes remaining. And I wonder if it is going to be something that we are going to see. That gap come down a little bit wide there from Armstrong, even wider from Jesse Jones. From Jess Jones, apologies. That gap stays and remains at 1.1. Dupuis has actually just got past Cody Pride, I think, but Cody Pride is fighting back. Tooth and nail, can't do it as it stands at the moment. And the Full Send Racing Porsche number 15 has to then stay behind. In fact, let's see if we can have another look at that pass. Here we go. What happens, Sullivan? Straight up the inside, last of the late breakers. And I tell you what, that was very late on the brakes actually there. You can see Cody Pride trying to scrabble, getting that traction down, but can't quite do it, unfortunately. So that is, move done and dusted. You see Cody Pride try to have another little bit of a look, but that was never going to happen in a million years. And now this is Kevin Platon. Now has in the back of Cody Pride as well. What's happened to Pride? He is dropped down
a little bit of a slide.
Oh,
he's had a little bit of a slide, and now he's slowing down. He had a slide coming out of the uphill left-hander, as we call it, And unfortunately, he just lost the grip, and I think he's had to just give that position up, which is a bit of a shame, I must say, because it looked like he was really pushing for this. He will get the slipstream. That is his saving grace here. He gets a little bit of slipstream, but it is a bit too much of a gap to start the pull-in. So he's going to have to watch out for a little bit. I do want to just quickly give you an update on Mitchell Watch, because these fresh tyres, he is starting to turn the screw. He didn't gain a lot of time this lap, but when you've got Daniel Sedgley and Rafael Garin fighting 2 seconds up the road, he had the chance to expect to see some late fireworks there with 11 minutes to go in at the Pro-Am. Chmielewski has an unassailable 12-second lead, but Wills and Ridpath are still battling. As I just say that, Chmielewski has just gone wide at the bus stop and will have to lose a bit of time. So I might have just caused the commentator's curse there, but that 12 seconds is now 11 seconds, but behind. Stop me if I've said this before. Harry Wills and Sophie Ridpad battling once again.
Indeed, we're going to turn to that battle in a few moments' time, but the other battle again that is continuing to go. This is Sojceg and Lewis Ward. Fabian Sojceg, Lewis Ward. Ford versus there you go. Ford versus Ferrari. That's a no for we haven't. That was one. You know, that's actually a really good film. I need to watch that again. That's reminded me. That was a fantastic film with what's his name? Batman. Can't remember his name. Not Gareth Bale.
Christian Bale, wasn't it?
Christian Bale. What did I get? Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale. Anyway, Christian Bale. Yeah, great film. That I really enjoyed it. That was it. It had that in old the other one. Matt Damon. That's it. I know people. Trust me. I do know people. That was it. Yeah, it's got Matt Damon in it. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. So, but at the moment, Ford versus Ferrari here, now, and at the moment, Ford are winning, although Ferrari might have a look back. Does Lewis Ward try to make it through round the outside of the bus stop? No, decides against it, and playing it safe here. I feel now that you're in the last 10 minutes of the race, there is no point. There's no point trying to make a move. Your sweet spot for making a move into the bus stop is about halfway through. Because you're not too far towards the end that you don't want to start taking any unnecessary risks. But you're far enough into the race that you can think, well, do you know what? I'm a bit more confident, a bit more comfortable. Everyone now knows sort of what they're doing. So now you can try and make a bit of a move there. But I think that moment has passed. I just don't think it's going to be there anymore. So, yeah, interestingly enough, though, have a look at this. Sedgley versus Veer Garin. I wonder, let's see if Marshall Caverd is going to be able to catch up. At the moment, the gap was 2 seconds. It's now 1.8. So this gap really coming down quickly. And if it can continue to come down, then you never know. It could very well be Daniel Sedgley, Garin, and Marshall Caverd are going to be in a three-way battle for fourth. Harry Wills, 5.3 seconds up the road from Sedgley. So that's going to be a bit tricky, certainly, for a podium for the number 18. Certainly not impossible.
No, Marshall Caverd will have to keep looking at this, keep pushing. That gap expands and then shrinks as they come through the corners. You can see the movement there. Sedgley going a little bit wide, using that runoff. And it's a late move from Garin and makes it stick. And almost Sedgley comes together, and that's going to hold them up a little bit. Garin makes that move up into P4. And they have to be worried, though, as they see that number constantly closing behind them. And you can start to see in the background, there is Marshall Caverd. He is now looking. The gap is 1.6. Garin goes for a defensive line. That's a very defensive line. It's the IndyCar line, as I like to call it, breaking the toe so aggressively. But he is not going to hold on to it because now the slipstream belongs to Sedgley. Let's see what a Ferrari can do going up the S's right now. I'm really curious to see if he can pull much time. He won't have a chance to make an overtake. The gap is half a second. That's too much of a gap to make any move here. But he has to start worrying right now because if he doesn't make moves, and there you go, he's not even in the slipstream.
Fast.
Not in the slipstream, but he is right. Look at fast that Ferrari is. Even without the slipstream, almost hits the inside wall there, but keeps on. You know what? Sedgley's got to go at this, you know. And also, one thing I've noticed, my timer is saying 42.05 laps. James Armstrong controls the fate of quite a lot of drivers right now. Is it 43? Is it 42? In 6 minutes, we'll know how many laps we're going.
Yes, we will. Absolutely. Very, very true. Meanwhile, up at the front, Patman versus Kaleha. Another battle continues. And I wonder who is going to come out on top. There isn't too long left to go. Less than 10 minutes. Whoa! Who was that that's getting involved there as well? I couldn't quite see who that was. Was it? You know, I didn't know who that is.
Jesse Jones. It's Jesse Jones.
Ah, interesting stuff. So James Armstrong, yes, is up the road. So I can understand why that Jess Jones wanted to make that move. But at the same time, unfortunately, is now split a little bit. There we go. Well, actually, don't know what. I think it was actually split, but now the gap is right back again. Oh, my goodness. This is going to be possibly. Has Jess Jones just allowed Kaleo going up the inside? No, not this moment at all. Whoa, this is very, very close indeed. Ethan Bass has had a bit of an off. We're going to have a look at a replay on that in a few moments' time. I haven't seen much of Ethan Bass, to be fair, which is a shame because I miss seeing that forward. What's happened to Thomas Reiter? Is it a bit too late on the brakes? Oh, yeah, a bit too fast into the corner. That'll be why.
Second time he's done that.
Yes.
Second time he's done that today.
Carbon
I'll
copy.
tell you what,
Ethan
who
Bass.
hasn't. I'll tell you what, though. Marshall Verd is in slipstream range. He is in slipstream range while Garin and Sedgley are battling. Marshall Verd is right there now. He's in the slipstream range. We just have a quick look at what happened to Ethan Bass, and we'll look at that again. Too much curb. Too much curb. Save it, Ethan. Don't keep it at the wall. No, so close. They're so close there, but it's so hard.
Whoa,
Could
around the
not make
outside.
it. Kaleo side. Wow, what a good time to come to them. They're side by side, going up the assist. Now hold on, boys. And one more well decides I want to get the slipstream. That will get it for me. Sean Campbell's behind. Sean's got to respect the battle. Sean's also going to try and catch up to Jesse Jones. They're going to go side by side for the pro-am. Cameron's on the inside. Panaman's on the outside. Sorry. Who's going to make the move? And one Manuel can't do it. He's trying to find the moves. He cannot find it. And now Sean Campbell goes around the outside. That's a risky move in a GT. He's managed to stick it, but Juan Manuel is losing time because of it. Not what he wants to see. But he will gain time because Campbell will try and make this move probably into the toe. But he can't. So Juan Manuel's got to use this for slipstream. He has to use Sean Campbell, use all that air, use all that power he's getting from it to try and catch onto the back end. We've got 4 minutes left. It is getting oh so close, and it is squeaky bum time for a lot of these drivers, including as well, like I said, that battle. I keep talking about the Mitchell watch. He's on the back of Daniel Sedgley, but we got to keep our eyes on this right now. Can Juan Manuel get by? And even more, Sean Campbell can't get by, but he had the right time to get past Juan Manuel. You've got to feel with your career right now.
Well, you've got to be, you know, again, you can't let off at this point. You can absolutely not let off. Harry Wills has had a bit of a Cody Pride's gone wide. Harry Wills and Sophie Ridpath is still battling once again. That's actually the last, that's sort of one of the big battles there. And then the other battle is just having a quick look. Marshall Kaved and Daniel Sedgley, look at this. This is the battle for 4th place still. So he's still raging on. Yes, this is a tricky one. Kaleo's just crashed. What has happened? Oh no, what has happened here? They're going down. Is it a bit too deep on the brakes? Possibly. Could it be a fraction? I think it is. I think it is,
you can see it, yeah.
Too deep.
Saw the back go, didn't you? You saw that back go the moment he turned. Thankfully, it's just a spin, not a crash. So he's okay, but he's lost that P2 to Madel. Now, Marshall Verd, he has the run right now. Is he going to go for a move here? Oh, here comes James Armstrong quickly. What's happened to Armstrong? Just looking right now, as he had a moment. It's all going on right now at the end. Armstrong's in the wall! The leader is in the wall and he's had to toe! Jesse Jones is leading the race! We are looking at drama everywhere, and there's 2 minutes left! And with that, with Jesse Jones, look at this, Rick Patton Wills! You can't stop for a moment to talk right here. There is action everywhere. This is Wills' best chance to make a move on Sophie Ridpad all race, but there's nowhere for him to go. Now, fuel save, lift a little bit, get a little bit of toe, try and pull the side. If you're going to do it, this is how you're going to do it. There's going to be one more lap because Jesse Jones will probably send this under. Side by side they go. He can't make it. That Ferrari has so much top-end speed, and he almost goes into the back of Ridpad. What can Harry Wills do? He's been like this for the last hour.
Well, at the moment, not a lot, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, absolutely. Harry Will's going to try and go for a bit of a dive. Ooh, it's late on the brakes there. Manages to keep it, just about keep it in check. Does he? So, but this is really, really pushing this car here at the moment. Marshall Kaved cannot get past Sedgley, as it turns out at the moment. Still, there's a couple of tenths between those two. And there's a few more tenths between Sedgley and Garin. So, a few battles still cracking on here. Sidecheck and Ward are still relatively close to one another. So, again, let's keep an eye on that as well. You've got Simon Dodd a little bit there as well. Ridpath goes a bit wide. That's going to allow Harry Wills to go possibly up the inside, round the outside. Does he go? It's going to... No, again. Harry Wills cannot get by. I tell you what, that Ferrari... the Ferrari is the car that you drive because it's a good all-round package. It's got a bit of everything. It's got a massive amount of straight line speed when you need it. It's comfortable to drive. It's got the one-lap pace when you need it. You can defend really easily in it. You don't get... if you're off the racing line ever so slightly, it doesn't send you into a wall. It's a really, really controlled car to drive. Harry Wills now in the BMW, still trying to go around the outside. That's going to be a cutback, definitely, if I ever saw one, unless it's going to be... Yeah, Ridpath just a little, just sort of parks it on the apex just enough that Harry Wills can't really do much. You can see, trying to go wide and then swing the car back in to give herself a little bit more momentum push. This is going to be. This is the best chance as any. But again, let's have a look from Harry Wills on board. See some... Look at the Ferrari's pulling away. The Ferrari's edging away. That Ferrari is so fast. And I'm not saying it's obviously taking anything away at all from Sophie Ridpath, because Sophie Ridpath has been driving the absolute wheels off of that car. It's been absolutely fantastic stuff. And oh my goodness, no, look at that. One more lap to go. This is the last lap.
Well, Daniel Sedgley just had to save the car. Marshall Wolford had to just make a reactionary move there to slow down. He's been having issues with the Ferrari as well. He's been unable to make moves here on that straight. You would think slipstream the straight, fantastic. Look at this. Look at this. Clips the grass. Can he make it? This is Daniel Sedgley, sorry. He struggles around. He clips the grass. Probably a little bit later as well. More moves here. A little bit of a dice here. Here we go.
Ignore me. This is the same
thing
replay.
as well.
Ignore me.
Mitchell's got caught side by side. He's going to go around the outside right here. He's going around the outside. Then side by side, they almost touch. Marshall Fogford makes it around the outside. They do touch. And then still side by side. Can he hold on to it into the kink? He can't. But there's still an overlap. There's still an overlap. He can't make it. They got one more lap to go because Jesse Jones is behind them. And there's a little bit of a touch. And Marshall Fogford finally makes it. They've got one lap to go. Jesse Jones is still going. They've got a lot of time to go. And that Ferrari had so much speed. And I think Mitchell realizes...
Oh, Marshall 18 had to slow down. Mitchell had to slow down.
Yeah,
Mitchell had to slow down.
I think he realized. I think, yeah. And that's such a shame. What can Wills do? Last time. Last time for Harry Wills, surely. Or has he got one more time? He's probably got one more time left in it. No, this is the last time for him. Can he make anything happen this time? He cannot. What is this Ferrari got? It's amazing, the top-end speed. There is Jesse Jones, though. That's a victory that a few minutes ago he didn't think he'd have. He wins in his second race in the series. It is the return for Jesse Jones. Campbell will come home in second. Coper, the teammate, will come home in third. It's an RSR 1, 2, 3, and the Ford gets P4.
Well, there we go. This is it. This is the battle to watch out for now. This is one of the last battles, the only battle left out on track. Ridpath versus Harry Wills. The gap is 0.4 of a second. And it is, I believe, unless anything happens, touch wood, it does not. But the gap is far enough. I think that 0.4 of a second is going to be very, very hard pressed to catch up. You can see Harry Wills, though, does take a little bit of time out. It takes about a tenth out. But then goes back up once again. A couple of more corners to go. And again, I think it may very well be Adam Chibolowski has crossed the finish line, but it is between Ridpath and Wills. One more corner to go even, and this is going to be it. Sophie Ridpath takes home P2, and Harry Wills 2.5 tenths behind in P3 for the Pro-Am category. What a race that was. That was absolutely fantastic to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed that. In the AM category, Michael Patterman took the win. Andrew Bedell in a second, and Kalea still in P3 after that spin. which I don't think he's really going to be too fussed about, considering what could have been, because that could have been a lot worse, actually. So still, to get a podium, very, very impressive stuff indeed. We will be bringing you the action and bringing you the full race results in a few moments' time. But wow, what a time that was. What an hour and 15 minutes. That just flew by. I don't know about you.
It did. Now, I'm looking at something. I think Daniel Sedgley, because he was ahead of Reiter and Marshall Vogverd, I think Daniel Sedgley has got a time penalty for incident points, because I now showing on my screen that he is behind Reiter and Mitchell. Now, I'll have to double check that, but it looks like at the end there he might have lost positions due to off tracks. So we'll have to confirm that later on. Timing Tower at the moment does say he crossed the line in 5th, but that would also mean that would give Mitchell, would give him the P6 or the P5, sorry. So we'll have to double check that when we come by. It might just be, I hope it's just my screen, but that'd be horrible to lose a position like that as the cars are going on. And that was one of those fantastic finishes. You never know what you're going to expect to see when it comes to Watkins Glen. So let's just run down those standings at the end of the race. And like I said, it was Jesse Jones's first win in the series for about a year. For the RSR, getting a 1-2-3. That's Jesse Jones in P1. That's Sean Campbell in P2. That's Oscar Coper in P3. The more I talk about RSR, the more that they're going to use this clip and put it on their social media. I'm totally not trying to get my social media time here. Regardless, RSR 1-2-3. Fabian Scheiseg will come home in P4 in that Ford. Lewis Ward gets 5th position. Then Sullivan Dupuis will get 6th overall. Kevin Platon will get 7th, and then you've got Cody Pride, unfortunately, finishing a lap down. James Armstrong, what could have been just a mistake at the bus stop with just about 5 minutes to go, losing out there, and PJ Gleison's unfortunately finishing home in 10th. And we'll get to the Pro-Ams, and maybe we'll see what is happening here with the timing towers, because I do see, like I said, Adam Chmielewski definitely wins the race here, with Sophie Ridpad coming home in 2nd place. Harry Wills will take 3rd. Rafael Garin will take 4th. Thomas Reiter takes 5th. And Marshall Valkverd takes 6th. And there you go. Daniel Sedgley finishing, it says, a second behind. That is because I believe that was a time penalty. And then the retirements there. Ethan Bass will be in 8th. Florian Copin will be 9th. Quentin Kustal will be 10th. We saw Neil Ferrier. We spoke to Neil Ferrier in 11th. And Alvin Kellberg as well comes home in 12th. And then the amateurs as well. They had some drama. Michael Patterman takes the victory. Some great battling by the amateurs here. He takes the victory. Andrew Mader will come home in P2. Juan Manuel Coelho, he had a chance and then just made a mistake into turn 1. But he managed to recover to a P3. Dean Timms will take home 4th. Simon Dodd will be 5th. And Angel Badero will be 6th. Michael Fowler will take home 7th. Werner S. 8th. Goetz Gasecki is 9th, 2 laps down. And Atrat El Haddad, unfortunately, does finish 15 laps down in 10th place. Now, just seeing if we've got anybody around. And I think we've got Ethan. Yeah, I think we got one person. Let's quickly just pull in, though. I've been waiting to talk to this man for a long time. Jesse Jones, welcome back. That was a pretty interesting race. And were you expecting that victory? Not in the circumstances, though.
Absolutely not. I made a silly mistake with my fuel calculator. I ended up taking like 7 litres way too much fuel. That's why I lost about 2 seconds in the pit stop. And then I was running a bit of a tire eater of a setup. And yeah, after I come out of pit lane and James was like a second and a half ahead, and then I got a bit of traffic, my tyres were just cooked. I even had a hard time keeping Sean away from me. So to be honest, when I went through that bus stop and I saw James to the side, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. It was it was his race. He did it perfectly. He got through the traffic, went through the field, he saved fuel, he looked after his tyres. It should have been his race win, but yeah, I mean, a race win's a race win at the end of the day, no matter how it happens. But yeah, considering how Silverstone went, I'm kind of chuffed that Watkins went a little bit my way.
Now, you say about you had a tire eater set up. I mean, we all know that it's Watkins Glen eats tires. So I'm not going to ask the tire percentages because people don't like talking about that, especially for like. But explain how that really affects the tires because
So,
it really does kill those tires.
I mean, the good thing with the Lambo, you can have a dashboard set up that tells you the surface temperature or the tire temperature. So you can already tell when you're scrubbing the tires or eating in the traction control. The setup we had a lot of entry oversteer, mid corner oversteer, and it was eating the left rear a bit more than most other sets. So you probably noticed that some of the corners I was just completely crossed up. And if anyone's driven the Lambo Audi sort of combo, they don't like going sideways most of the time. But yes, when they start getting hotter and hotter, you start pushing the front more. You start getting four wheel slides. You just lose a bit of momentum more than anything else, and it makes it harder just to keep consistent. But yeah, the setup we was running was pretty stiff. Sean was running a slightly softer setup than me and Oscar through preference, but it was probably the way we should have went. I mean, because the length of the race. I mean, this setup was designed for a 45-minute race more than anything else. With Daytona around the corner, we've kind of put most of our eggs in one basket here. But yeah, I think 1, 2, 3 for the team. It's pretty good after. When was I last here? 4 or 3 seasons ago? I can't
Something
remember.
like that. I've lost count. Everything's too.
The Z4 days. That
I
was
said
sort of when I
4
was
days.
last around.
That's it. I remember that. Yeah. I mean, RSR 123 is fantastic. It something we haven't seen for a long time. Are we expect to see the same at Okayama?
I know it's one of Oscar's favorite tracks. He goes very well there. I've only raced there, I think, probably when I was a rookie on MX5 years and years and years and years ago, and probably Ferrari fixed once. So I'm pretty ill-experienced when it comes to that track. But the good thing is that the Lambo is gonna suit that track down to the T, just because of the nature of it, slow corners and everything. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. I mean, we can't wait to get Daytona out of the way, and then we can start focusing for Okayama. But yeah, we're as ready as we can be.
He talks about Ferrari fix. He's like the king of Ferrari fix. He gained about 1,500 I rating just on Ferrari fix 1 week at Road Atlanta. Trust me, he hasn't stopped talking about it. Before you punch me, any shout outs before you go?
Yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you to G Performance for all the support they've given us throughout the years now, as well as Butt Kicker, Velasquez Engineering as well. And then all the guys behind the scenes. I mean, our teams are very much a driver-run team. So, we've got people like we've got Marius behind the scenes and Boris behind the scenes, all pushing and driving the team. Oscar, Oli, Anthony, and then we've got Ted and John in the Vector side of things. We've got we've got a lot of good drivers in the team at the moment. Ones we really, really want to keep. We've managed to get Sean on the team, and you can see from his results in this league alone, he's a top tier driver. So yeah, just want to say thank you to the team more than anything else for everything, for all the help.
Well, Jesse, congratulations once again on victory. It's great to see RSR back again. It's always nice to see that livery. We wish you the best of luck for Daytona, and we look forward to seeing you next week at Okayama. All the best, my friend.
Thank you. You take care. All right. See you guys.
All the best, Jesse. And quickly, I'll tell you what, let's have a quick word with one of our Ford drivers, Ethan Bass, who unfortunately, Ethan, it didn't go your way at the start of the race because of that bus stop incident.
Yes, the less said about that, the better for everybody. Let's just not talk about that. Let's talk about how actually fun this new version of Watkins is.
Yeah, no, tell me about it, because I know what the Ford's like for suspension. I know what it's like for driving. Tell me what it's like driving a brand new Watkins with how the bumps are now, how the curves are. It must be a challenge. We saw you also have a little bit of a moment later on in the bus stop.
Yeah, that was me. Because of the incident happening, I was just doing some experiments and stuff. So that was a case of just braking too late that one time. And the curbing isn't actually too dissimilar to, say, stuff like Imola or Suzuka. So I put on the 10-hour set with some tweaks, and it worked out pretty well. I was enjoying my pace, and when I was in clear air at the end of the race there, I was actually happy with my pace. So I feel like if we had gotten to the first pit stop, it would have been game on for at least a podium, but we'll never know.
Now, unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's such a shame to see anybody crash out full stop. Okayama's coming up next. What are we expecting from Okayama, especially in the Ford? Because it's a track with a lot of intermediate corners and slow corners. So, in some respects, it doesn't sound like it should favor the Ford. Am I right?
No, it's going to probably be a lot of first and second gear, especially through that last section. The opening stuff down the back straight into that right-hander hairpin thing should actually be good fun. It's a fast turn 1, fast turn 2, off camber, good bit of fun. But as soon as we get into the slower stuff, where in the old days of F1 going there, they had double wings, it will be, I'm going to have to make this thing the widest car in the world.
Oh, Ethan, before we let you go and work out how to make a Ford wider than it is already, any shout-outs before we let you go?
I want to thank the Race Anywhere boys for hosting this. It was good fun, and they were all organised and doing it well, and hopefully things will be better next time. At least. And then thanks to everyone at FitzDie for letting me run. TechSense, Remble, Demon Tweaks, Fight Coloro Cancer, Majors Garage, and Sim3D. Thanks for all the help.
Well, Neil, commiserations on what happened today, but I'm sure there'll be a bounce back, and we'll probably see you and talk to you next week when you're probably celebrating a podium. Hopefully, knock on wood. Ethan, all the best and good evening, my friend.
Yes, thanks very much, and knock on wood.
All the best. Thank you, Ethan. Well, Daniel, that's it for another week. It's been fantastic to get back out. And I'll tell you what, that was an entertaining race. I can't believe the excitement there, last moment things. When you're going, thinking to yourself, what's going on? Why are we going to a replay and then see the leader take himself out or crash out? You know something just happened. You couldn't take your eyes off anything. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again for tuning in to Absolute Sim Racing. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and everything will help. We've hit 500. Next goal is 1,000. We would love it if we could get all the support possible. A shout out to our sponsors, Race Anywhere at raceanywhere.co.uk for sponsoring the series. And remember to check out all the sim racing gear they have. And of course, Sim3D as well for their products. And of course, elsewhere, as you've seen elsewhere, go for the gap as well in the World Series once again for this fantastic series. We'll be back next week if you heard me talking about at Okayama, a track I'm not very familiar with, but trust me, it promises to be very entertaining in the GT3s. But from myself, Craig King, and Daniel Hanover, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will say good evening and take care, and look out for the Americas series later on tonight. But from me, good evening.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.